Hello and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool and Ethereum ecosystems. My name is Wack. Today is 15th of May, and today's episode is going to cover a huge step towards further decentralization for Rocket Pool. And we're going to be talking about staking fears and what people are scared of and why they might not stake. In Ethereum news, we're going to be talking about a new second ETH strategy in 2 days. We're going to be talking about L2 stuff. We're going to be talking about the Pectra pages. There's an update to CoWSwap. We're also going to be talking about some DAO drama that's happening and so much more. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
So the big news of the day in Rocket Pool land is this post from Langers that came through on the protocol update. And here Langers says some quick DAO updates. So the first piece of news is about the Oracle DAO. So the Rocket Pool team have executed the leave transactions for them, two of their nodes leaving the Oracle DAO. And then the next one is Gitcoin. And it says the core team are keen to see Gitcoin leave after the next rewards period. I don't think that's quite what he wanted to say, but that's fine. Anyway, yeah, it looks like that's the next step now for the oDAO. And we're getting the numbers of the oDAO down to the numbers that the pDAO asked for in the charter, which of course is great. And it means that the rest of the oDAO members will get slightly bigger pay rises because of members leaving. So that's pretty cool. It says the oDAO will monitor balances and price updates to make sure everything is humming along nicely, which of course is their main job. So that's pretty cool. Now here's the big news. This is from the protocol DAO, and it says that we are preparing to disable the protocol DAO Guardian. So from the beginning, the intention has been to disable the protocol DAO Guardian once it was safe and appropriate, meaning when both on-chain protocol DAO governance and functional security council were in place. So this post outlines the plan, and then there's a link. We can go and have a look at that in a second. And before that, Langer says, we will execute this over the next few weeks and keep you informed. This marks a major milestone in Rocket Pool's decentralization journey. We're proud and excited to take this step. Let us know if you have any questions. So like Langer said, there's two main parts of this. One is that, you need to make sure that the DAO is up and running, and we've seen that that has happened. And, we've had on-chain votes now where people have voted and we've reached quorum and all that good stuff, everything's going to plan. The second step, of course, is the Security Council. So here it says some of the duties that the pDAO Guardian currently has and was managed by the core team. It says pausing certain actions in case of security threats, adjusting specific protocol parameters, authorizing protocol DAO treasury payments, inviting members of the Security Council. So it says from the beginning, the intention was to disable this. It says with the release of Houston, we have fully deployed battle-tested on-chain governance system. We're confident it's ready to assume full control. While the Security Council is still in the process of being organized, we currently have no active members. RPIP 33 specifies that the current Guardian will serve as the initial member. So this is our plan is for sunsetting the protocol DAO Guardian. The core team will create a new multisig for the Security Council. Using the protocol DAO Guardian, we'll invite this multisig to the council. We will then disable the protocol DAO Guardian entirely. This is as members of the Security Council, the team will still have the ability to pause certain protocol functions in the event of security issue. However, given the nature of the Security Council, the team's role is entirely subject to the will of the protocol DAO and will continue only for as long as the DAO deems appropriate. This is a major milestone in Rocket Pool's decentralization journey, and we're proud and excited to take this step. So this is really, really awesome. I'm really proud of this step being taken as well, and I'm really happy that, it seems like every chance that Rocket Pool, the protocol, gets towards taking steps towards further decentralization, that is what the team and the community do. And I think this, harkens back to some of the very first things that Rocket Pool set out to achieve, which was, making this protocol that was maximally decentralized, maximally trustless, maximally permissionless, maximally censorship resistant, like all of those amazing, core attributes that we want. Rocket Pool's goal has always been to maximize those as much as possible, and now we are getting one step. We've taken one step further along on this journey, which is absolutely awesome to see, because this was one of the last pieces of FUD. There were like the two pieces of FUD that were kind of remaining. Was one, the oDAO getting paid so much that of course went down by 90% before we gave them a small pay rise again. and now the Guardian wallet was the other thing, and now that's being sunsetted. So this, of course, is excellent stuff. The next step now, I think, towards even further greater decentralization for Rocket Pool would be removal of the oDAO entirely and using, on-chain ways of managing the duties of the oDAO and different ways of doing that. And Noshua has written some things about that, and other people, I guess, as we make progress with the kind of things that we can do on chain with oracles and ZK proofs and all that kind of stuff, we'll be seeing potentially steps taken towards happening. It might take a couple of years or so, but that would be absolutely awesome. Okay, some staking news here, and we're going to go to ETHStaker today, and they've got this infographic that's really cool, and it says one of the biggest misconceptions about solo and independent staking is the fear of penalties and slashing. It says today we're excited to share a new visualization that helps clarify these scenarios and what they actually mean using the latest logic now live post Pectra, and there's a full breakdown of resources that they used, but let's have a look here. So this is actually a really, really cool infographic, and what you see here is like, the penalty and slash levels, how much you actually get punished, and the different kind of scenarios and what kind of, let me actually just open this in a new tab and see if we can make it a bit bigger for you all to see. Yeah, so there's like a full stake. Losing your full stake is a very rare and extreme thing, and then there's that's an all-out attack by multiple validators. Like, Ethereum has to undergo a mass slashing event for you to lose all all of your full stake, basically, between 32 and 2048 validated ETH. And then you get a couple of different types of slashing. And so it says slash level scales with more validator balance. So you can have up to half an ETH slashed if you have 2048 ETH, and you can get 0.007 8 ETH slashed if you only have 32 ETH on your validator. The next kind of punishments are missed earnings and offline penalties. So offline penalties, if you are away for several weeks, is nearly zero. Offline for a week, nearly zero. Offline for a day of 50 days, and that's still close enough to zero that it doesn't even matter. There are here, like the slashing thing. So the regular slashings are if you do surround votes, double voting, proposing 2 blocks, etc. Those are the kind of like punishments that have gotten much smaller. So it used to be that it was a 1 ETH punishment for these kind of transactions in fractions, and now that is going to the max. If for 32 ETH it was 1 ETH, and now that's been reduced for 32 ETH down to 0.0078 ETH. So unless some really bad things are happening, even slashing now is an almost like inconsequential penalty. So I think that this actually does a really good job of kind of explaining the different penalties that are out there and the different ways that you can get punished and levels, the severity of those punishments. So if you're looking at being offline for up to several weeks, the levels of punishment that the amount of punishment you miss is not much. So that was actually said offline for a day or so, not offline for a day or 50. But even like for 50, you're not going to miss that much in terms of rewards. The amount will just be a few dollars at most. So yeah, this is a really nice infographic. If you are thinking of becoming a solo or independent staker, like for example, if you want to start a full solo validator at home, or if you want to become a Rocket Pool node operator, and you're scared of punishment, like penalties, just realize that, I think in Rocket Pool's history, there's only been like 16 ETH worth of slashing, and that's across tens of thousands of validators. It's really rare that it happens, and it's normally to do with like, you misconfiguring your setup where you load your keys on 2 different systems at the same time. Normally one of the scenarios that's caused this to happen is people trying to change their hardware that they're staking with. So they will take their keys off their current machine, put it on their new machine, and forget to turn off their old machine, or it accidentally turns on somehow, and that causes a slashing to happen. So yeah, that even with that now, the punishment is going to be really, really low. So there's nothing to stop you from staking. And if we get that all-out attack by multiple validators to the severity where you lose your full stake, at that point, Ethereum is going to be going like through some really bad stuff. So it won't be that much more of a loss, basically, compared to the price of ETH, what it's going to suffer from an attack like that. So yeah, becomes node operators, become stakers. Like it says 32 ETH, but you don't need 32 ETH. You can become a Rocket Pool node operator with as little as 8 ETH. With Saturn 1 in a few months' time, that'll go down to 4 ETH. And there's other protocols on the market which will let you stake with similar or smaller amounts as well. So yeah, become a node operator. Okay, let's move on to some Ethereum news now. And the first bit of Ethereum news that we have today is this post from Hani Abu, and he says Moss Genomics announces ETH strategy. Now, I'm going to just talk about Hani Abu for a second here first, before I go and talk about the new ETH strategy, just to give him a huge shout out. Hani Abu maintains a whole bunch of different Ethereum-related sites, dashboards, news sources, news aggregators, and things like that. Whenever a story like this breaks, there's a Telegram group for this Ethereum adoption. So it's literally only announcements of high-profile entities building on Ethereum. So only signal and zero noise. So if you want to join that, Telegram group, you'll get the breaking news. But yeah, this is really great. So Ethereum adoption has that news. But let's talk about Moss Genomics. So with these strategies, it doesn't really matter what the company is, the underlying company. Obviously, if they have some more money, the better it is, because they can leverage more debt. But what these companies do is basically go out onto the market and say, hey, we are such and such company. We want to offer convertible notes, which are like these kind of think of them kind of like bonds, I guess. And basically, what they argue is that with the money will come in, and we will use that money to buy ETH. In this case, very much like Strategy, use the same thing. They issued debt, and they used the money to buy BTC. Moss Ethereum here are calling themselves the MicroStrategy of Ethereum. I don't like that branding particularly, but that's fine. So I think these guys are based out of Germany and Canada, and publicly traded company in Germany, and Frankfurt and Canadian stock exchanges. And they currently have 317 ETH with a USD valuation of $764,000. So what they are trying to do then is, say, hey, look, we're growing our ETH treasury, and we're going to add more and more to this as we get more debt. And here's their trade the stock chart as well. So yesterday we had BTCS, who are doing this similar thing, the same thing really. And now these guys, Moss Ethereum as well. So Moss Genomics, their website is Moss Ethereum, to get more information there. And yeah, you can go ahead and do this. So there's some information about the company and what they're doing, and yeah, this is really cool. Like I was saying yesterday in yesterday's episode when we were talking about BTCS, who are doing the same kind of thing. They're a NASDAQ traded company in the US. The problem is that you really need a charismatic leader who can go on all these news shows and really hype the product. And another thing you need is not too many companies in the same space, because that kind of dilutes the available capital of people who want to, you have to have something that sets you aside from other competitors. Otherwise, people don't know who to give money to. It's just everyone's competing for the same money. It just becomes a lot of effort for not much improvement in terms of inflows. So if to have something like a really huge company going out and doing this, I think would be the best thing for Ethereum. Now, Coinbase are strategically accumulating ETH. At least there's ETH on their books, which is really cool to see. If Coinbase was to do something like this, that would be amazing for Ethereum. Another company that could do something like this that would be amazing is Consensus, if they IPO and they go through this route. Joe Lubin, of course, is a co-founder of Ethereum, really well known on the different news circuits and stuff. Has had lots of experience in news channels. I don't know, the levels of charisma, maybe not quite, the highest echelon, but I think, Joe could do a really good job. So maybe that's the kind of thing that we want to see. We really want to see a huge company like Consensus really pushing things like this forward. But the flywheel has begun, and what tends to happen with these things is that the company will issue debt, then they'll buy ETH, then the TVL goes up, then the stock price goes up, and then they can issue more debt against that and just do it over and over and over again. And Michael Saylor, of course, has been doing this masterfully or terrifyingly, depending on your perspective. But yeah, there's ways of doing this, so that's definitely one to keep an eye on. Okay, going back to like more regular Ethereum news here, we have L2Beat saying that another ZK rollup joins the stage 1 squad, and this is Starknet. And this is with this update on the top 5 rollups by TVS on L2Beat are now stage 1. And then let's talk about what's changed. So they've gone from stage 0 to stage 1, and they had some changes. So the verified contractors changed, and the members of the Starknet Community Security Council have become more diverse, and upgrade to the core contracts can be done only by the Security Council with a 7-day delay, and censorship resistance against the permissioned operator is provided by 3 out of 12 Security Council's minority. So then that's how they've changed. So yeah, there's still some red there, but they actually, the 3 risk rosette changes associated with this upgrade, they've gone from red to yellow. So that's actually really, really cool to see. Now, if you have a look at L2Beat, you can see here that the rollups that have the total value secured base is number 1, and they've got 4 green pies with 1 red pie slice of the 5 slices. Arbitrum 1, I think they're the closest to getting onto stage 2. They have 4 green slices and 1 yellow pie. OP mainnet same as base. Then Unichain is same as base because they are all part of the superchain. And then Starknet is coming in with a stage 1 now with 2 green pies and 3 yellow pie slices. And ZK Sync, I think, they've got to get up there really soon, but they are at stage 0 still. They've still got that 1 red pie slice and 2 yellow pie slices, so they need to take that step towards getting those more yellow. As you go down the stack, you see more and more red. There are a couple here or there that have got some nice amounts of green, but they're not meaningfully, they're not meaningfully big, but hopefully we'll see a few more of those. So yeah, let's keep an eye on how these rollups develop. So speaking of ZK Sync, we are still going to stay in the ZK Sync ecosystem here, and this is Wonderfy, who we actually talked about on yesterday's episode or maybe was it last week? I don't remember exactly when, but we talked about Robinhood choosing Ethereum and buying Wonderfy L2 for $178 million. Well, they were on testnet at the time, and now they've gone to mainnet launch. So Wonderfy here announced that they're on mainnet, and I couldn't be more proud of Wonderfy Labs team working tirelessly alongside ZK Sync to go to market with this product. So they have no gas fees, it's all abstracted away, just endless possibilities to build a better financial future. So this is really, really cool to see. This is now Robinhood with their L2 basically coming online. So I think in the days and weeks and months ahead, we'll see Robinhood kind of taking over this and steering the direction of it. And I'm definitely going to keep a close eye on that and see how it all goes. But yeah, they're getting their infrastructure on board. What might happen is they might just fork Wonderfy and leave Wonderfy to do what it's doing and have like a Robinhood branded L2 that kind of comes out of it. I think that kind of makes more sense. Or they would just rebrand Wonderfy if it's got significant TVL just to keep that in the ecosystem. And then here's ZK Sync as well, kind of praising that, saying Wonderfy is live on mainnet, ZK Sync chain, by Wonderfy Labs, on-chain finance accessible to over 1.7 million users. So those are pretty good numbers. I think some of that might have been farming or whatever, but that's all good. They can boast those numbers if they want. And then it says they merge a centralized scale with decentralized access by connecting users to on-chain opportunities via custom ZK Sync chain. So they're part of the Elastic chain basically. And there's a lot of hype around that, of course, with the Robinhood purchase just a few days ago. So awesome stuff. Okay, next we got this tweet thread from Trent Van Epps, who of course is an Ethereum core dev, and this is called it's a summary of the Pectra upgrade through the voices of 40 different core contributors. It's the Pectra pages. It's really cool. Trent goes through some of the highlights here. So he says this was put together by Nixo and Trent himself, and there's some really good things that's what people think were the successes of Pectra, what could be improved, what were the contributions to the Ethereum network, what were some of the challenges, who deserves kudos, and then Pectra, like, describe it in a few words. People use words like relieved, challenging, anxious, excited, and next fork. And then future priorities, they think that L1, L2 scaling is top priority for growth usability, also important UX, DevX, privacy, censorship resistance, and stuff. So the link to the full document is in the tweets, but here you can see that there's 40 contributors who've kind of talked about their successes, improvements, contributions, challenges, kudos, and then the future priorities stuff. So this is really awesome. And you got like, core devs from teams like Lighthouse, Bisu, Panda, ETH Panda Ops, and things like, Ethereum researcher like Barnaby, and other client implementers and stuff. So you can read through the whole thing just to get an idea of what kind of things that people were talking about and what they experienced. And this actually becomes a nice piece of oral history about the Pectra hard fork, and it will be lessons learned going into the future, which is absolutely awesome. So yeah, there's some really like important people in the Ethereum ecosystem who kind of shared their perspective on the Pectra upgrade. So I think it's worth spending a few minutes to read some of those takes. Okay, CoWSwap, which is my favorite DEX in Ethereum land, or just in crypto in general. It's awesome. Like it's a DEX aggregator, and it has like its own MEV solutions built into it and all sorts of other really cool things. Well, they are getting a huge upgrade that's in the process. And Andre here says it's official. So this person, Andre, is a senior research economist at CoWSwap. So it says it's official. CoWSwap is upgrading its core mechanism, moving from the current batch auction to the fair combinatorial auction. Excited to see research make its way into the real world. A big moment for on-chain trading infrastructure. So now what's really cool here is that, but CoWSwap's batch auction system is actually quite slow, and it brings up some issues at times, especially when you're doing things like limit orders, where if you set a price, the token can go below that price, but your buy doesn't register and hit for different reasons. And that's always a bit of a shame, but overall it's an amazing experience. Like you do really well using CoWSwap, so it looks like they are getting better prices, faster execution, and stronger fairness guarantees. So these are all the things that I wanted to see, and it's absolutely awesome that CoWSwap is taking these steps. I don't own any cow token or anything like that, so I'm not like shilling my bags. It's just a product that I absolutely love using in crypto, and I use it many times a week. So great job, CoWSwap. Okay, I wanted to take a minute or two to talk about some drama that's taking place in crypto land, and this is like DAO versus DAO fighting that's ongoing, and it looks like Aave are trying to do a base incentive campaign, and they are putting aside a whole lot of boosted yield for certain pairs and reward assets if people migrate them to Aave from other things. So for example, if you deposit CBTC, CBBTC, you can get a supply boost of 0.2% for 3 months. If you migrate 100% of your holdings from Morpho on Base or Ethereum to Aave on Base. So for example, you can also get wrapped ST ETH. You can get a 0.5% boost on that if you migrate from Morpho to Base and to Aave on Base. And there's more for Moonwell as well, like USDC and Go. And yeah, they just basically found competitors against Aave, and they are they're gonna attack them, basically like do a DAO attack with these incentives and try to move their liquidity over and deposits over from Morpho and Moonwell onto Aave on Base. So this is kind of fiendish, and some of the takes that I saw about this were really funny. Like I'll leave you guys to kind of go through that yourselves. Here Mark says the fun part is that because we have revenue and they don't, we can fund this forever, while their answer would require spending more of their shit coins, causing a downward spiral. In war, the best economies always win. So this is literally like, Mark Zeller from Aave declaring war on Morpho and Moonwell. Like it's quite like, a strong attack. Now, there were some takes that, this might be Aave, which is the biggest company in crypto, one of the biggest companies in crypto, kind of attacking the smaller players. And what's really interesting is like Morpho, I think, raised like $50 million from VC funding. So it's not like they're poor, but yeah, there's definitely some big attacks here. So this person countered by saying, "What if they turn on the fee switch for Compound Blue?" And then Mark, like, he's like brutal with this. It was really funny. And Mark is someone that I have a lot of respect for. Like, I really like his ethos when it comes to Ethereum for everyone. And I had him on Launchpad, which was a great interview. Like Mark was an awesome guest, like a really smart, really cool guy. But anyway, he like responded by saying, about this compound, fear. He said, "I checked, they only have $4,500. They've got enough to buy a second-hand Toyota Yaris with decent mileage to drive themselves back to the circus they came from." So there's some real drama here, and yeah, I don't like normally like revel in DAO and DAO fighting. I've been involved in some of those, like, back and forths, and yeah, it's definitely a part and parcel of what comes with DAO dominance and like wanting your team to do well. But there's some drama going on here. So if you are the kind of person who likes to follow along with like DAO and DAO drama and Twitter drama, then you definitely check this story out. Okay, and some other news. We're going to finish with some news that came out of Coinbase today. And sorry, I didn't actually have the actual Coinbase article up before I started reading some takes. But here, Coinbase put out this post today, and they had to file with the SEC. And Brian Armstrong made a video as well that came out. And basically, what happened is that cyber criminals bribed and recruited a group of rogue overseas support agents, and they stole Coinbase customer data. The kind of data that they stole was people's names, addresses, date of births, also their government ID, like passports, driver's licenses, things like that. Coinbase said no passwords, private keys, or funds were exposed, and Coinbase Prime accounts are untouched. We'll be reimbursed customers who were tricked into sending funds to the attacker. We're cooperating closely with law enforcement to pursue the harshest penalties possible and will not pay the $20 million ransom demand we received. Instead, we're establishing a $20 million reward fund for information leading to the arrest and convictions of the criminals responsible for this attack. So, they're coming out on the front foot, trying to counter this, but this is really bad. Like, the things they got, like, here it says no names, email addresses, phones, masked social security numbers, last 4 digits, masked bank account numbers, and some bank account identifying information, government ID images, account data, balance snapshots, and transaction histories, and limited corporate data, including documents, training materials, and communications available to support agents. So this was like really bad. So basically, it wasn't a hack. It was just bribing people who have access to this information to give over the information. So it was really bad to see. Lefteris here had a take saying that Coinbase just proved again why centralized data honeypots are a disaster waiting to happen. KYC means handing over your identity to be leaked, sold, or extorted. The combination of data exposed here, like real life addresses, crypto addresses, and amounts, and real life ID, is lethal. Just 2 days ago, there was a violent attack in Paris. Minimize the data you share with centralized tools. Store as much as you can locally. Always ask yourself, what data am I giving and to whom? Remove the need for trust. Start today. Use Rotkey. So, Lefteris obviously is going to shill his company there. But Adam Cochran actually had a really interesting take. He says he was a director of an exchange in 2013, and the security measures they set up was, printing hard copies of data instead of leaving it on databases, sending backups to secure data offsite, like data enclaves offsite, and not keeping it accessible like in day to day. And digital copies were batched weekly to an air-gapped offline server. All access went through senior compliance team members. So if this was what Adam was doing in 2013, it said that Coinbase not doing this now is absolutely egregious. So it says that Coinbase are trying to take the argument that we're going to refund our customers who lost money, but that is actually that's the bad take. The correct take here is that they had horrible security practices to just make this information available to these people, and they were able to steal it. I've seen some takes of people saying, well, that's actually beside the point. But this is a $60 billion company, and for them to do something like this, absolutely like horrible practice. They will probably get a fine, probably from some kind of government agency. So yeah, I think it will be well deserved. But anyway, On that note, I'm going to end today's episode. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I'm going to have some personal news in tomorrow's episode that's going to impact like the next month of Rocket Fuel episodes. So stay tuned for that one. It's not going to be good news, I guess, if you expect Rocket Fuel episodes every day. But yeah, I'm going to keep going, and you'll see me tomorrow. So have a great day, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you then. Bye.